A single command, buried in the silent depths of the ocean, was all that stood between our world and its complete annihilation. This is the story of that command and the one man who refused to give it. In October of 1962, the planet held its breath. For 13 days, humanity teetered on the razor's edge of a nuclear abyss. The event seared into history as the Cuban Missile Crisis was the closest the Cold War ever came to turning hot. Two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, had their fingers poised over the button. But what few knew was that the most dangerous moment didn't happen in the White House or the Kremlin. It happened in the dark, airless belly of a Soviet submarine, hundreds of feet below the Caribbean Sea. And the men inside were utterly convinced World War III had already begun. To understand why, we must rewind. After the horrors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, a terrifying balance of power emerged. America held the nuclear monopoly. But not for long. The Soviets raced to catch up, creating a global standoff. This wasn't just a war of ideologies. Capitalism versus communism. It was a game of strategic positioning. When the U.S. placed its Jupiter missiles in Turkey and Italy, a stone's throw from Soviet borders, Moscow saw it as an existential threat. They needed an equalizer. Their answer lay just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, Cuba. Under Fidel Castro, the island had become a communist ally. In a secret pact, Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev hatched a plan to install nuclear missiles on Cuban soil. A move that would instantly change the strategic map of the entire Western Hemisphere. American intelligence, however, was not asleep. Spy planes flying over Cuba captured unmistakable evidence. Launch sites under construction for President John F. Kennedy. This was an act of aggression that could not stand the U.S. military PREPA. But what Moscow and Washington didn't know was that the first shot of World War III might be fired without either of their orders. Enter Foxtrot-class submarine B-59, sent to Cuban waters as part of the Soviet operation. It carried a secret and devastating cargo, a nuclear-tipped torpedo. Its crew had been given a chilling authorization. If communication with Moscow was lost, and they came under attack, they had the power to launch their atomic weapon without waiting for permission from headquarters. On October 27, as U.S. Navy ships desperately hunted for the sub, they located B-59 with contact to Moscow already severed. Due to depth, the crew was isolated, exhausted, and on edge. The Americans began dropping practice depth charges, explosives designed to force the submarine to surface. and identify itself. Inside the claustrophobic hull, the reality was distorted. The concussive thuds of the charges hitting the water sounded like the opening blows of war. The temperature soared past 100 degrees. Carbon dioxide levels were climbing. The captain, Valentin Savitsky, was certain. "We're being bombarded," he reportedly shouted. "We're going to blast them now. We will die. But we will sink them all." In the darkness, the fate of billions rested on 3 votes. The submarine's rules were clear: to arm and fire the special weapon. All 3 senior officers had to agree. Captain Savitsky and the political officer, Ivan Maslenikov, voted yes. They believed the war had started, and it was their duty to strike back. One man held the final veto. That man was the flotilla's staff officer, Vasily Arkhipov. While history remembers the faces of presidents and premiers, Arkhipov was a quiet, seasoned submariner. He had witnessed a nuclear accident on a previous voyage. He understood the true cost of radiation, the finality of these weapons. In that sweltering chamber, "Sir," he insisted, "the signals were inconclusive." He demanded they surface to re-establish contact and assess the situation before committing an irreversible act. For several agonizing minutes, the debate raged. The world, quite literally, hung in the balance. Finally, Archipov's calm logic prevailed. B-59 ascended. They made contact. They learned there was no war. The depth charges were simply signals. They were ordered to return home. He saw through the fog of war and chose a path of peace. Simultaneously, in back-channel negotiations, Kennedy and Khrushchev were reaching a desperate compromise. The Soviets would publicly withdraw missiles from Cuba. In a secret quid pro quo, the U.S. would later remove its missiles from Turkey and Italy. The crisis de-escalated. Historians now agree the true moment of maximum peril was not in those diplomatic cables. It was in the hull of B-59. Had Vasily Arkhipov voted with the other 2 officers, a nuclear torpedo would have likely been fired at the U.S. fleet. The response would have been immediate and catastrophic, triggering a full-scale exchange. The resulting nuclear winter would have made Earth largely uninhabitable. We live in the world Vasily Arkhipov helped preserve. His story isn't one of grand speeches or treaties, but of profound individual conscience under unimaginable pressure. It's a stark reminder that our shared future can sometimes depend on the clarity and courage of a single person in the right place at the right terrifying time. If this glimpse into the brink reminds you how fragile history can be, Please show your support. Like this video. And make sure to follow Reality Unveiled for more deep dives into the stories that shaped our world. What other hidden moments of decision do you think changed everything? Let us know below.